Welcome back to lesson number 4. Now we're going to dive into the subject of persuasion. In the previous lesson, we talked about opportunities is everywhere, but we got to be a hunter to find them and eating the frogs on the way, going out of the comfort zone, etc. And now let's go into what are the big opportunities we have here in the area of sales. And then we have to understand the subject of persuasion. So first of all, when we look at it, so we look at active selling versus passive selling. So like we said in the beginning, that active selling, it's when we go out hunting for the best possible clients for our business. Passive selling, this is when we're waiting for the client to come to us. And we define active selling as persuasion. Now, if you think about this, so if I come to you and say, would you like to buy this clicker? If you say, oh yes, of course I would like to buy it, here's the money, then I don't need actively to do something. I don't need to persuade you. So the idea is to persuade somebody, there has to be some kind of barriers, difficulties, some kind of resistance to it, so that we need to persuade people. And from my experience, sometimes you can be very lucky that you have a lot of clients, you don't have to do a lot, but other times you gotta go out there, you have to hustle to find the client because you wanna find the best clients before your competitors find them. And the moment you find the best possible client, now you need to start to persuade them. Why should they buy from me or from you and not from your competitors? That's what we mean here with active selling and persuasion. And we define persuasion, the art of changing somebody's mind. So what we mean here with this. So first of all, imagine I come to you, I want to sell you this clicker, I want to sell you a house or a car or our training program as a service, etc. In the beginning, when we meet each other, maybe you're a little bit resisting, you don't know about what is the right to do, you don't know does it really fit to you or not. So if I am a salesperson or a persuader, now I need to change your mind. Basically, I want to go from no and change it into a yes. That's the job of a salesperson or the job of a persuader, to change the way people think, the way people believe, the way people see things. We kind of basically want to lighten up, put some light bulbs into their heads so they start to see what you see. Because in the beginning, they probably don't see what you see. So if I see, wow, this clicker is the best clicker, or our Golden Key training program, it's a great program, but you don't see it yet. So I need to turn on the light in your head until you start seeing this. And if we look at it in this way, we could say then persuasion. This is to make someone understand something or to do something through your arguments. So that means, let's say, I believe in certain things. I think, let's say, Mozart is a great musician, and let me show you why he's a phenomenal musician, how he put it together, and so on. Let's say in the beginning, you don't like Mozart, you don't see how great Mozart is or anything else. So I want to change your mind to understand, to see what I see. That is persuasion. Or if you take in the family, maybe you have a child or you have children, you want them to do something, but they don't want to do it. Maybe you want them to study better for school, or you want them to do sport or something constructive, but they want just to sit and play computer games all day long, or they want to sit on the iPad doing whatever they are doing. Now, you want now to persuade them to change, to do something else that they are doing. Or you want them to understand certain things, why good behavior is good, or why not making noises, whatever it is you want to do. That is persuasion. And if you think about it, we are all involved in persuasion all the time in our life. And the next thing is when we look at negotiation. So we often have to negotiate different deals. So we could define negotiation to negotiate a deal. It is to reach some kind of an agreement through a dialogue. So ideally, you come to this agreement where we both feel good about it. So that the one side says, all right, I can accept this, it's a good deal. And the best negotiation is when both parties are very, very satisfied. Now, this negotiation can be in business. This can be, for example, you are a supplier and I'm a purchasing things. So we both should come to some kind of agreement that it's a fair deal for both of us. It's a good deal for both of us. Now, in life and in business, we need to do a lot of negotiation. Can be in the family. You want your children to clean in the house. Maybe they negotiate that they can then play some computer games more, or they can stay up later. That's also a negotiation. So what you form some kind of an agreement. And we could say then, if we look at sales versus negotiation, we could say that selling, it is a one-way persuasion. And negotiation, it's a two-way persuasion. Now, what we mean with this, so let's say I would like you to buy this clicker. So I start to blah, 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 why, how the clicker is very good. And in the end, you say, oh, okay, I can see it's a good clicker, and I would like to buy it. So I persuaded you to buy the clicker. But then when you ask, how much does it cost? And I say, it costs $1,000. You say, oh, no, this is too expensive. I only want to pay $600. Now you try to persuade me to put the price down. And then we go back and forwards. We have a dialogue. Maybe at some point we end in the middle and we find an agreement on $800, for example. So then it is a negotiation, which is then a two-way persuasion. Now, why I say it in this way, it is for all of us to realize we are all involved every day of our life in either persuading somebody to do something or to understand something, or we are negotiating so that we need to get some kind of agreements between people, etc. And if you think about that, who is the most difficult person you have to persuade or you have to negotiate with? That is often yourself. Because if you look yourself in the mirror, and you look, oh shit, I need to do more fitness. I need to lay off all the unhealthy food. I need a lot of salads now and no beer, etc. Maybe there's a little voice in your head who says, well, it's very tasty, it's very nice, and you don't really need to eat the healthy food or to do fitness, or you can start mañana later on, etc. Very often, who is the best persuader? Are you the best persuader, or the little voice in the head is maybe a better persuader than you? So we often have to persuade ourselves to do things. Maybe you even need to negotiate certain things. You say, all right, if I do fitness, then I will buy something nice for myself, or I will go on a holiday if I reach a certain goal, which is basically a negotiation with yourself. So if we look at it in this way, we could say then, to become a great persuader or a great negotiator, we need to, first of all, have the right mindset. And second, we need to develop the right skills. Because if we don't have this mindset and the skills, we cannot become very successful. Now, how do we do that? So first of all, if we look at what is a persuasive mindset. So what is the mindset of a good persuader? First of all, it's a person who is very optimistic. That means when you go into persuading, you believe I can go through the barriers, the difficulties. I'm optimistic. I believe I can do it. And I don't mean we are stupid, that we think, oh, well, I'm a super optimist. There's no problems, no barriers. Yes, there's going to be a lot of problems, a lot of barriers. Usually, the bigger the goals and dreams, the bigger the barriers. But we need to be optimistic. I can go through it. And as a salesperson or a persuader, this is absolutely vital. Before you visit a client or you call him online, etc., you have to believe I can do it. It's just like an athlete. Where does he win the competition first? In his head. Because the moment we start doubting we can do it, of course the barriers become stronger, etc. I have so many experiences with it where I had this negative doubts creeping in. When I talk to a client, it can even before meeting the client, I kind of go, well, he probably is not going to buy. Or I could be confident in the beginning, optimistic, but then it comes, no, barriers are growing, and then I start to doubt, and my optimism and confidence coming down. So we need to look at how to become more optimistic, more confident. And the second key factor, look at sales, persuasion, negotiation is just a game. It's a game just like playing chess or playing tennis or playing football, whatever it's just a game. Now, that is a mindset. Now, when I started out in sales or as a negotiator, I didn't look at it as a game. Every time there was a difficult client or a lot of barriers, it was a problem. Or in negotiation, it became more a conflict situation instead of a challenge. How can I overcome this barrier, this difficulty, etc.? And the third factor, if you want to become a great persuader or a great salesperson or a great negotiator, you gotta be passionate about it. But this goes for anything in life. You can never become really great at something that you don't like doing or you're not attracted to doing. So the same as a salesperson, when I started out in selling, I hated it. It was the worst I could do, but I needed the job. I needed the money, and that was the kind of job I could get. Because when I came from sailing on ships in the merchant marine to oil drilling, etc., working with tourism, but there I didn't have to sell a lot, but I had to learn it. So we want to become really passionate about it. Now, how do we learn to do that? So first of all, we need to realize that we are involved with persuasion and negotiation every day of our life. This can be in our personal life with our partner. Let's say if you are a wife, for example, maybe you want your husband to buy you some nice present, a new diamond ring, or maybe you want a new car, etc. Or if you're the husband, maybe you want your wife to do something for you or to make your favorite activities, whatever that is. But you need to persuade your partner. With your children, you need to persuade them to negotiate so many things with your kids. Now, and if you really look at it, who are very often the best persuaders? That is the children. And now there is a principle. If the other person is resisting a lot, they don't want to do it or they don't want to believe it, we have three choices when we come into that situation. One is you can give up. You say, well, this is too difficult, I give up. I can't persuade or get the person to do something. The second option we can use force. You start to put pressure on, particularly if somebody is weaker than you, it's easier to use pressure. This can be for your kids. You say, if you don't do it, there's going to be penalties. You can't stay up late at night or you can't play with the iPad or whatever. But that is called force. But you can only use force to someone who's weaker than you. And the third option you can actually persuade people. Become a persuader, looking at how can I change the mind. And if we look around the world, how do we get all these different conflicts, problems between countries, between people, etc.? It's because somebody failed to persuade or they failed to negotiate. So either they give up or they start to use force instead. Now, I don't know if you pay taxes or not, but if you have to pay taxes, but what if you don't want to pay taxes? What do you think the tax office is going to do? Are they going to give up? Probably not. Second, are they going to use force? Probably yes. Are they going to try to persuade you? Probably not. They will only use the middle one. They will use force. They will say, if you don't pay your taxes, you're going to go in prison. You're going to get penalties. Life is going to be tough on you, etc. But you can't do that with your client. You cannot say to your client, if you don't buy my stuff today, I'm going to put pressure on you. So if you look at it in this way, the best way to have long-term success, remember this marathon mindset, that is to persuade people. So not forcing people to do something because they will resist it and they will protest later on, but persuade them. Find the reasons why they should do it so that they themselves want to do it. Maybe you need to persuade your parents to do something. In my case, for example, my mother, for some strange reason, throughout my whole life, she always thought I'm her little son. And she would say, Michael, you need to do this, or you can't do that, or this is not okay, etc. And I'm saying to her, Mama, I'm a grown-up man now. I'm not your little boy anymore. But she somehow couldn't see it. In the beginning, before I start to learn more about persuasion, negotiation, etc., I didn't know how to deal with this. Either I will avoid it, run away from it, or I would use pressure. We end up in arguments, fights, etc. Until I learned to persuade is much better. But now it has to be a game. How to persuade your parents to do something or believe something that you want them to do. Or even with your friends, what to do in the weekend, where to have a party, or where to go on a holiday, or what restaurant to go to, etc., etc. So if you look at this in our personal life, how often are we in a situation where we need to persuade or we need to negotiate something so we can get certain beliefs or actions, etc.? It's every day. The same in our professional life. If you are in HR, human resources, or personnel department, or recruitment, etc., you want to hire the best possible people for your company. You want to hire the best of the best, but you got to persuade them that they should work for your company and not to work for your competitors. Maybe you need to negotiate the salary system with them, etc. Clients, of course, is the obvious one. You want to persuade clients, maybe negotiate prices, conditions, etc., so that they end up buying your stuff and products, etc. Suppliers, you need to negotiate the deals, the prices, conditions, etc. And of course, with the colleagues, you often need to persuade them to do something or negotiate to do something, etc. For me, when I started to work as a diamond dealer, that's when I really, really learned about persuasion and negotiation. Because I was very, very fortunate. My partner, he's Italian, his name is Fabrizio, and he was one of the best negotiators I've ever met in my life. He's very Italian, very emotional, very charismatic, and he loved negotiating. He could sit for hours without getting tired to negotiate. And we needed, because we were purchasing all our diamonds and colored stones in India. And many of the Indians were very calm, sitting for a long time. But Fabrizio, he could outrun all of them. So for me, it was one of the best lessons that I personally could get how to become a better negotiator. So with all of this, if you look at it, we are all born to persuade. And we start to persuade from birth. When you want milk or something from your mama, you just cried. But that was the only way you could persuade. And many children are still crying. I even know grown-ups, when they want something from another person, they just start crying until they get it. But it's not the best technique for clients, suppliers, etc. Or if you work in a shop and a client come in and you start crying, oh, I haven't sold anything for a very long time. Can you please buy from me? Otherwise, I don't get any bonuses, etc. They might work sometimes, but of course, this is not a standard way of persuasion. And don't forget, the number one person we need to persuade and negotiate with, it is ourselves. Even to do this training, you maybe have to persuade yourself to do the assignment, to discuss with your colleagues, negotiate with yourself. You say, okay, if I do all the lessons, I do all the assignments, then I will go to the movies, or I'll go out, have a nice dinner with my team, etc. Whatever, how you want to do it. Now, so how do we get this result to create this persuasive mindset? The first step, we need to be aware that I am born to persuade. And how we do it, as you could see here in this template, you have it in your workbook. So you write down, who are you persuading in your life? So here you could write, for example, my wife, and in the next column you write, what am I persuading them to do, or that person to do? So you make a list, and to do this, 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 and this. Then the next person, let's say my son, my little Joe, what do I need to persuade Joe to do? Make a list of what you need to persuade him to do. And you keep writing this until you realize, wow, it's amazing. I am born to persuade. I'm doing it all the time. So this is the assignment. As you can see here, who are you persuading to do what? Keep writing until you realize, that's amazing. I am born to persuade. Or you could call it, I am born to sell. Now, there's nothing wrong with persuading people, selling things to people, as long as it is what we call ethical selling. Now, what is ethical selling? It is to get another person to do something or to understand something that is really good for them. We should never try to sell something or get a person to do something which is not the best for them. You know the golden rule of life. Try to get other people to do what you would like them to do to you. So we should never get people to do something that we don't want them to do to us. Now, when I'm a client, I don't like to be cheated or manipulated or tricked into buying something that is not in my best interest. I like to have a good salesperson who has my interest in his heart, and he will advise me to buy the right things for me. But if I want that from salespeople or consultants, etc., I also have to do it. I cannot expect, I want all people to be ethical to me, but I'm not ethical to them. So think about it. This is just this little, let's say, condition of long-term success. And if you build a reputation as a really ethical salesperson, someone we can trust, who is an honest person, etc., of course, now we can have long-term success. All right, so do this assignment, discuss it with your colleagues or your partner, and get a lot out of it. And I see you at the next lesson.